Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm Arnie Niekamp from HelloFromTheMagicTavern.com. It's a podcast.
And I'm Matt Young. I'm also from that podcast. And yesterday I said it wrong. And today I'm going to say it right. It is patreon.com/Magic Tavern.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's Han Solo.
Han.
I said it wrong yesterday, but now I think we finally got it.
Can I do a quick, just total non sequitur here?
Please.
It's not a total non sequitur. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately. And I started listening to Heir of the Empire, the old Timothy Zahn Star Wars novel.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who reads it, when he does the Lando voice, he says Han. And he's got this kind of smooth voice. And I was like, I love that guy chose to do that. I was like, oh, that's a nice little touch.
Does he do that with anyone else? Does he do like an impression of any other people?
He's actually really good at doing Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill.
Wow.
And they do like effects in it too. So it's like there's an effect on the C-3PO voice. And then like he says like, oh, and Chewbacca growled in the background and you hear, you hear the sound. So there's like a lot of like production on top of him just straight up reading the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
But he's really good at the voices, and his Lando's pretty good too. I was pleasantly surprised.
Now, have you guys heard we might as well ride this tangent for a minute. We haven't even introduced the minute yet.
Right.
Have you guys listened to any of the Star Wars radio drama? The old NPR Star Wars radio drama.
No.
Yes, I've listened to all of them. I'm sorry.
There's some weird voice choices in there that it's not always bad. It's just interesting. Like John Lithgow as Yoda is the one that I'm like,
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's
and it sounds like old Jewish Grover, and it's not bad. It's just an interesting choice. It's like, all right,
Isn't it Spaceballs?
yeah, basically.
And Mark Hamill is in Star Wars and Empire, but not Jedi, I believe.
Yeah, I tried to. I was not binging them, but I was listening to them, more or less in sequence, and then starting with Jedi, and I was like, hey, he sounds a little off. Like, is this? Did they? Because they did that in the 90s. I think they went back and did
it was a lot later.
Return of the Jedi in the 90s, and I was like, I guess Mark Hamill had some voice changes going on in there, and then I was like, oh no, it's not him at all.
Yeah. The weirdest one to me was they cast Ari Gross as Lando Calrissian,
Yes.
which
Whoa.
is like
odd.
Huh? What? Huh? What? Huh? Huh?
It's
what?
I think A, it's worth checking out. B, we need to bring those back. We need to start. They need to somebody get NPR on the horn. Or
Although Matt, you said Ari Gross, not Terry Gross.
Yeah,
that I'd be there for that.
I would. Let's get all the NPR superstars. Yeah.
Hello,
Ira
this
Glass.
is fresh air.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just want you to let you know, I'm capable of over 7 million forms of communication.
Let's get Peter Sagal on the phone. He'd do it.
He'd do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Well, I support this plan wholeheartedly, but I also want to make a plan to talk about minute 42 of Solo, a Star Wars story. That's what we're here.
Back on track.
We are talking about minute 42. It starts with Han Solo saying, "Square this," and I think it's like a geometry taunt. And it ends with the first appearance of Dryden Voss's yacht, the fabled. What is it? Lighthouse or something like that?
First Light.
First Light. There we go.
First Light.
There's a I want it to be the lighthouse because there's a let's go. We're already exploring the boundaries of far afield here. But there's I've been drinking out of a New York Islanders glass, and they had a fantastic. They were trying to get an arena built 20 years ago, and they had this lighthouse project. Terrible kind of promotional ad campaign that I think about. Then it's anytime anything is called, like I haven't seen that movie, The Lighthouse, and I don't think I could because the whole time I'd be like, meet me at the lighthouse, like like, it's anyway. So I'm glad that the yacht is not actually called the lighthouse, even though it looks like it could be. It looks almost lighthouse shaped, but it's First Light.
It doesn't look like a yacht. I'll tell you that.
Mm-mm.
No, but they really kind of lean into the Art Deco-iness of it, which I kind of like because they're trying to kind of do a noir-y story. I think they could have even gone further that way. It should have been a little like nicer, sleeker looking outside. But I think they're trying to like cut the difference between like prequel, like super smooth versus like original trilogy, like
Right.
industrial
70s, lived in.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is kind of, I like that. It's like almost a throwback to the prequel era, like the old Republic design. I like
Old Republic.
I like it. Ye Old Republic with an E at the end of Republic. Han Solo. Hey, I knew there was more to you than money, but here maybe there isn't. They're like, hey, go live your life, and he's like, nah, we can get some money, right?
He's quite a mercenary.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying yesterday, we were talking about how it's this kind of like, I was talking about how it's like this maybe formative moment, and like, Tobias is the mentor here, and I like that he's like, I got to find some way to square this, but we also get paid, right? Like that undercurrent is still there, and it's like, oh, like you think he's about to become this noble person who's gonna like fall on the sword and like help this guy out, and he's like, no, he just wants his money so he can do his plan and go back and save Kara and all the things that he's been planning to do all this time.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, it's not, it is about money, but it's also he needs the money so he can go enact this, rescue plan of going to get his friend.
Yeah, I wonder if he cares about anything personally
or anybody.
Just to underscore how I always have very surface level observations, the notes that I took during that line specifically is he's so weirdly out of breath during that line. Like he's kind of just like which he's not the minute before. He's just like, I'm ready to square this. And I'm like, was there a relay race or something right?
I think maybe he's having like a panic attack. He's committing to something, so he's like.
But at the end of the last minute, he ran out.
Everyone had to loosen their shirts.
Yeah, no. The minute ended, he ran out, got something to eat, was out, and then he looked. He was like, "Oh, I got to start tomorrow's minute," and he ran back and just barely made it. There was traffic.
Yeah,
so
that was close.
Yeah,
Chewie still hasn't got it.
Chewbacca challenged him to do a bunch of push-ups between the minutes.
Right. Yeah. He's got to, stay healthy. Chewbacca's a fitness freak.
He totally is.
He should have had a headband like a tennis player, one of those 70s kind of
Chewbacca with a headband is something I would like to see.
Well, in this movie it'd have an extra strap though.
Yeah, they're just diagonal.
Right.
So speaking of Chewie, we have so Han says to he's dealing with Beckett, and he says, well, like, I'm still in it, and he says to Chewie, how about you? And Chewie goes, rah, 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 and then he goes, yeah, he's in too. And this is another one of those things, like what exactly was his level of, was he like, what are you guys talking about? And he's like, see, totally, he's in too, or
yeah.
I feel like if you're writing a Star Wars movie now, you have to give yourself the challenge of having Chewie engage in these movies, but not let yourself have every line after that be someone saying exactly what Chewie said. Like, can you do it in a way that you just get it enough?
Yeah, like he couldn't have just nodded and like, rah, 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 and like that. We would have known that means yes. Like you don't have to have
shrugged.
Yeah, he flips them off. He's like, yeah, that means yes in their culture. Gives them
I want to see a scene where someone's just talking to Chewie in the background, and then the person talking to him just starts crying, and they're just like, "Yeah, God, what you just said really
hurt me."
He's a real poet.
Or really hurt me. Yeah.
Right.
You see me, Chewie.
Yeah.
It's like you tore my arms off with your words.
That would be
just
funny.
kinda
Like every
nodding.
scene, someone was like, like in Star Wars after they escaped the Death Star, and Luke's all depressed about Obi-Wan getting killed, and then they have a scene where they're talking, and then later Luke comes back and goes, Chewie was really helpful when he really helped me get over this. He's always off camera giving people really good, profound advice.
right. And they look at him. He's like, look, just shrugs once they're out in the open.
Not that it really matters, but this is the younger guy as Chewbacca now, right? Like in this film.
It's 20 years before. It's 10 years before Star Wars. So
Thank you. Got it.
10 years younger.
ABY. Junus, I forgot how to say it, but he's
right.
The
And
Chewbacca.
it's weird to think he has now probably spent more time in the costume than Peter Mayhew.
Because they were kind of splitting the duty some in the sequels, right?
In Force Awakens, yeah.
Yeah.
I think just the Force Awakens. I think that I was like, we wanted to get Peter Mayhew back just to be that, and then he became Wookiee consultant or Chewbacca consultant or something like that.
So I guess I guess he has 3, but Peter Mayhew was also in Revenge of the Sith. He was technically in 4 of the movies.
Maybe they're neck and neck.
Star Tours.
Was
Star
that?
Wars.
Wait, the Peter Mayhew was Chewbacca in
Arnie, I thought that was you.
Oh, that's right. That's what I was going to say. I was everybody in Star Tours. And no one asked me about that enough.
You were like the Eddie Murphy of Star Tours, where you insisted on doing every role.
I know.
A lot of prosthetic work, but totally worth it for the
a lot of more farting than they wanted, but I was like, that's my process.
I total tangent again. We were at Emerald City Comic Con one year, and maybe the most starstruck I've ever been was seeing Peter Mayhew in the lobby and not knowing what to do. I'm like, I don't want to say anything to him. I don't want to bother him. He's pretty old at that point. He's in his wheelchair, like motorized wheelchair things. His knees were just shot, and I went past him at some point because people were kind of hovering around him, but trying not to bother him. And I was just like, I'm a really big fan. I love what you've done. Thank you. I just thank you. And I walked away. He's like, oh, thanks. It's like, I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to take any of your time. But I was like, I was just weird. I was surprised at how kind
emotional.
I was like, oh, that's the guy. That is the guy who was there. So it really it got me really kind of verklempt and weird, because it was also he wasn't very healthy, and he was there and he was busting his ass at a Comic-Con, and I felt bad for him, but also I don't need to feel bad for him. I'm sure he's perfectly happy and fine. But yeah, it was it was just this weird roller coaster of emotions in this hotel lobby from just seeing this guy. Well, that was a real bummer. So let's talk
has anyone met any other Star Wars actors in real life? I assume conventions are probably the most likely, the canned hunt phenomenon where you're kind of...
I don't think I have. I've oddly met in passing a lot of the Next Generation cast. But I think Peter Mayhew's the only Star Wars person I've seen or met in real life.
Yeah, I feel like the Mandalorian expanding the ranks of comedy people in the Star Wars universe, probably, but real central ones, I don't.
I guess for it to count, you would have to know them from Star Wars first,
yeah,
and then met them as opposed
to not somebody who being in a Star Wars, but somebody who you saw in a Star Wars, and then you met them.
That's true.
I talked to Admiral Piet at a comic book convention one time.
Oh,
and because a little bit of comedy trivia, he plays Jesus in The Life of Brian. When that scene where they're doing the Sermon on the Mount, and you see Jesus really far away, that is the actor who played Admiral Piet, whose name escapes me at the moment. And so I said, I'm going to go up and mention that to him to show I'm not just some Star Wars nerd. This is as far as you doing the podcast. And I said, oh, so you were in Life of Brian, and he was reading the paper. No one was talking to him, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, what was it like working with those guys? And he was just totally could not care less about trying to entertain me with stories about what it was like to work with them. I think it was to him, it was just some other job, so it wasn't he didn't sound like he was too enthusiastic.
Yeah, I totally get that impulse of I want to talk to you about something that isn't the thing that you're here to talk about.
To show you that I'm not a nerd, I'm going to talk to you about Monty Python instead.
Well, to show you I'm not a nerd, I'm going to go out of my way to figure out a thing that is so obscure. Clearly I know why you're here and who you are.
Or
but
getting
it's
in your head do I go references too deep? Or is that too, am I trying too hard if I go too far out of the
I should have just said, what was it like working with Terry? And then he'd be like, what are you talking about? Oh, Terry Jones? I thought, next time.
Play it
next
cool.
time.
Yeah, you can just get. That's why I got so in my head when I saw Peter Mayhew, because I was like, I don't. What do I do? What do I say? I can't just point and go, there's Chewbacca, you know, like that sucks.
Yeah.
Just stand up like Chewbacca and just pointing.
What about non-Star Wars celebrities? Have you ever approached non-Star Wars celebrities similarly and been like, I just have to say something, even though I know, like, I shouldn't, but I feel like I have to? Like,
when I was in college, I spent a summer in London, and I went and saw a Spalding Gray performance, who was the
Christmas. A Spalding Gray Christmas.
Oh man, wouldn't that be the like best, most depressing thing ever? The most neurotic Christmas special you've ever seen. And as I was walking to try to get his autograph, I walked past Lou Reed, who just like. And this was around the time that Lou Reed was in a bunch of indie movies, so I actually that's the only way that I
Where
sort of
was
knew what
this?
he looked like. This was in somewhere in London. Like, I think
London.
it was some
Yeah.
festival that Laurie Anderson, his wife, had put together, which I found out later was why he was there. But I walked by, and he was like, he looked too much like himself. I was like, he just like glowed a little bit. I'm not even that big of a Lou Reed fan, but like walking past him, I was compelled. I didn't stop, but I just literally pointed at him and said, "You're Lou Reed," and just kept walking. Like, he needed to know that.
Right. Maybe you meant it as like an affirmation, like you are Lou Reed.
You are
believe
Lou Reed.
in you.
Yeah. I should have said, "You are Chewbacca." And then just kept walking.
That would have been better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I had a ton of. I used to work at a place in Manhattan that we had a lot of celebrities walk through. But exactly what you were talking about trying to go kind of not obscure, but being like, Karen Allen used to come in from time to time, and we all were just totally agog because she's wonderful and she was super sweet. And we were talking once, and somebody was just like, yeah, it's I loved you as in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and she was like, oh, thanks. And somebody was trying to be like, well, really, I think your best role, I think your best work is as like Lois Lane in the Superman movies, and like she was totally sweet about it, but was just like, oh, like that's not me, but like I understand, I've heard that a lot, like we get, but somebody was trying to one up it and just being like, well, I love you as Lois Lane.
To say your best work is just makes it so much worse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I had a strange run-in once at an audition here in town where I was reading with an actor who was new, and he was like very nervous, and you could tell it was like his first or second time being in an audition. And for whatever reason in the casting, this never happens in Chicago, but for whatever reason that day, John Cusack was in the office or coming into the office for some reason. And this kid, like, I if I could have grabbed him and pulled him away, I would have. But I saw him, like, he and I are like going over our lines. We're about to go in to read for like a Kraft macaroni and cheese commercial or some nonsense. And then he like runs up to John Cusack and starts talking to him. And like, it's just like babbling, just like blah, 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 just like vomiting out words. And it was so awful. And the kid, and you could tell John Cusack was annoyed and it was like wanted to get away from him. And then this kid came in, had to come back to where I was at and do this audition with me. He was like a mess because he was just like crushed that this guy wasn't excited to talk to him. It was so awkward and so strange. And I was like, oh, I could. And it was like me watching it happen in slow motion where I'm like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that.
And now he's Timothy Chalamet.
Like, probably,
really?
yeah, probably.
He's from Chicago, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Where were we? Oh, long shots.
42.
That's my next thing. We've talked a lot about the evolving language of Star Wars as a film, and as we get more directors and cinematographers in there, I feel like we get a couple of shots here after they're like, all right, we're going to go back and square this. Then we got a couple of long shots of them walking across, and that's something that we don't get much of, other than like C-3PO walking through the desert, I feel like, but we don't have a ton of those. Like usually we're like right in on the action and whatever's going on. And I can't think of too many other, it's almost like Lord of the Rings kind of, they're crossing through the mountains kind of shots, and I like it. I appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess Finn we probably see, I can't think of offhand, but I'm sure we see shots of him walking around the desert the same way we saw 3PO walking around the desert.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of those. I feel like even those are a little bit tighter, a little bit closer in, or maybe,
Well, I feel
maybe
like
not.
they're
Maybe
like-
there's some like,
There's like the pop up,
yeah,
like from the trailer, like
Right.
the famous like,
right.
and
I
then
really
like
like-
dropping armor. Yeah.
I really like the Expanse in this scene, but also it really underscores, like, again, like I said yesterday, they should wear a hat or something. You're like, you are just really out in the tundra, just casually.
Well, and
walking
also, how
chatting.
long does it take them to walk? Like, are they walking all the way to the ship? That seems
Yeah.
That's
Like-
like, yeah. I have a
that's
lot
like
of questions
Superman
about
walking through the Fortress of Solitude kind of.
Han doesn't even know
Oh,
the
that
ship
wasn't
is
me.
there yet.
Sorry,
Like,
it's
where do
very-
they think they're going? They're just casual.
Yeah.
They're just walking forever.
Lots of questions because I guess I didn't really put it together until just this watching it this time that's where they're going. They're walking to meet Dryden Voss at his yacht, and it's on the same planet because that makes zero sense to me. That like, if you're a high-powered, crime boss, you want to be nowhere near this. If there's you don't want to be like right in the same.
You don't
on
be
the same
driving the
planet.
getaway car if you're
Right.
if you're the boss of the family.
You're not
wanna
like
be-
waiting around the block while they pull off this mega heist and just being like, all right, give it to me. Like you're like, let them come to you and do a whole thing and wait and like, why are they on the same planet? It doesn't really make sense to me.
It doesn't
especially a
make
day's
sense.
walk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But also they're trying to maybe the only way it could be intentional is if they are saying he's untouchable, and
That's
it's
true,
like
yeah.
Well, yeah, and we do
and
see evidence of that later on, so we'll get
Yeah.
to that. So
yeah, and it's like
yeah.
I guess that could be the justification for that, but it's also just like we don't have time to get another ship and go to another place, and it's just like there's like a wave. This whole the long shot is kind of a wave of the hand. It's like they walk there, it's there, it's fine. They got there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But it's edited. It is actually. I remember, like, it's edited so it's like you could almost interpret it. Yeah, as they're talking about it, and you're seeing where it really is. You're like, oh, okay, that's the next place they're going, and then it cuts right back to them, and you're like, oh wait, no, it's right there, really close to them.
Right.
They should have done it in one continuous shot. Like they had them standing by their graves, and then they walk there, and it's literally like 200 feet
Right
away
next
from
door.
where the graves are.
That's true. Maybe they flew further. Maybe it is. It's just a
Oh.
similar looking planet that they flew to, maybe in the same system or something like that. But we don't know for sure that the graves are on the same planet that we were on previously. It just could be similar looking.
Well,
That does
the-
reframe the conversation of like, no, don't come with me to
Right.
this thing. You're like, we're here. We came all the way here. I'm not going to walk the last couple
The
steps.
official guide does say that
Oh.
the ship is on Vandor. It's the name of the planet. So
Huh.
sorry about that. Bummer.
Weird.
Yeah.
All
Oh
right.
well.
All right.
Next
There goes
time.
my fan theory.
I noticed something strange about one of these lines. Woody Harrelson in that long shot, and this is a joke that I'm sure got added in post way later because it's just like voiceover while they're walking. And joke, I put that in quotes. He says,
Knock,
"Sorry,
knock.
I punched your face."
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not sorry I punched you in the face, which I feel like is what you would normally say, but sorry I punched your face
Yeah.
was very odd to me. I like it really like it kind of like is nails on a chalkboard for me for some reason. I don't know why. I just sorry I punched you or sorry I punched you in the face. Would you say sorry I punched your face?
I think I wouldn't, but I think Woody Harrelson would. I think it's a very Woody kind of thing of being a little bit like kind of folksy but off. In a sense.
Yeah.
It is
That's
a little
fair.
like kind of quirky way to say it. Like, sorry, I punched your face, like very casually.
But it's like he wouldn't be sorry if he punched him somewhere else.
It depends on where.
Right. Sorry I punched your face.
Yeah. The
Well, it has
original
the
line
same
was, I'm not sorry I punched you in the neck.
Right. Because that's what he was aiming for.
Yeah. And
It
people
was a
were like,
list of all the places he wasn't sorry, and then the last one was, and I am sorry I punched your face.
It's like
And
it's
then,
like Forrest
yeah.
Gump. He's just listing off as they walk and walk and walk. He's just like, I'm not sorry I punched you in the shoulder. I'm sorry I punched you in the bicep. And he's just going and going.
That brings up the deleted scene where Woody Harrelson just mercilessly punches him in a lot of places, like in one scene.
So why don't you do a Natural Born Killers kind of mashup scene here where it's all blood all over his face and stuff. So.
Right.
Yeah. That's all I got for 42.
Yeah, I had some talk about we did talk about started to talk about Dryden's yacht, but
we see a lot more of it tomorrow. So
yeah, should I save it for tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right.
Save it.
Then I will save that. And listeners, viewers, friends, if you want to, you see that thing that's behind Alex? It's a tapestry there. If you're watching it, so I guess listeners, you wouldn't be seeing this. Viewers,
I thought you were trying to
friends,
scare
you'd
me.
definitely be seeing this.
Yeah.
If you see the thing that's behind Alex, it's a tapestry. It's a tapestry of a wonderful Beatles-inspired, Sgt. Pepper-inspired thing with all the different Star Wars characters. Not all the different Star Wars characters, but a bunch of different Star Wars characters, including both Alex and myself are in there. And that is available at one of our T-shirt/merch shops. And that's go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch. It'll take you to the place where you can get it.
Threadless.
You
this
can
one's
get
only
it.
Threadless.
I think right now the link just goes straight to Threadless, but you can find our
Okay.
TeePublic store is still up, but most of the focus right now is on Threadless because we were able to put some things up there that haven't been taken down yet. But yeah, you can get it on a tapestry, like a shower curtain, a throw pillow, a skateboard, all kinds of weird stuff, or a T-shirt, where if you want to go that route.
Skateboard.
And yeah, and I think it. There was some other weird product that I just saw, and I thought you were pulling out the visual guide to show me something in it right now.
Nice. Get back on my
Anyway,
turn.
Go there, buy some stuff. It's all cool, and then we'll meet you back here tomorrow for a brand new Star Wars
Star Wars Minute.